Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about The Last Guardian for the PS4. Originally a PS3 exclusive that took the Italian system's life of development and still never came out. But it came out this year and it took pretty much 10 years. You don't get any booklet, you do get a reverse cover, which is just the actual cover without the waiting board and the PS4 logo on there, but aside from that, it is pretty much the same thing as the normal cover. The Last Guardian is probably one of the hardest things for me to talk about here, because this, I always said Dead Island was like my No Man's Sky. I bought into the hype of its trailer. But The Last Guardian, well, I never gotten on the hype train because I learned my lesson from that, obviously. But it is a game I've been looking forward to for a very long time. It will be a bit tricky to talk about, but essentially, the game opens up with you waking up near a griffin creature that probably acts somewhat like a dog and has the emotions of a cat and has the abilities of like a griffin where it can fly and has claws and such. But this creature doesn't trust you when you first start the game, and you build a bond from the beginning to the end based on how you interact with it, you help it. And essentially, the game is like... it's like Ico with a pet colossi at your side, and you work together to get through the ruined buildings that you are in. So, if you're familiar with both Ico and Shadow Colossus, elements from both of those are very reminiscent here. Though there are issues with, like, say, the camera. Since you are working with essentially what could be a Colossi from Shadow Colossus, it can take a lot of space, and some spaces aren't very big. There are some instances where it's just barely big enough for him, and if you're riding on him, the camera goes ballistically crazy by either trying to distance itself, goes through you or your pet. It can be very chaotic with the camera. The climbing also doesn't feel as solid as Shadow Colossus to me. It feels like you have to adjust the camera way more with your climbing, even though you may like have it facing one way and you're pushing in a direction for him to go a certain way. Your character doesn't seem to always react the way you think he should, and sometimes you have to have the camera corrected for him to move properly, and that can be annoying in a few situations. But one of the common criticisms most people have been directly commenting on when it comes to The Last Guardian is your friend. He is AI. He does not directly follow you instantaneous. Being a puzzle adventure game, like any puzzle adventure game, it does demand a certain amount of patience. If you're impatient, it's certainly not going to be a game that's going to be for you, since you have to think, explore, and examine things to figure out where or what may be needed. And since you're working with a giant creature, you have to think a little outside the box than simply the realms of what the boy can do. You have to think of what you can do with your pet, as well as you both try to escape through these ruins. But giving him commands are not direct. They can sometimes seem irrational how he reacts to you. The creators have stated that his AI adapts to how you teach him. So essentially they claim the AI learns from you. Whether this is true or not is really hard to say at this point in time. Obviously a lot of people would have to study how the commands and how he adapts to you, whether he really is learning from you or if that's just a BS excuse. But there were about 4 instances where I was having a lot of trouble trying to get him to go forward. And it seems that you have to point the camera in just the right angle and point the analog stick with the command button for the boy just to point in the right direction, because there's sometimes where his arm will directly point towards the destination and sometimes not. So it looks like you have to get in the right sweet spot to also help out there too. On top of that, being a creature of his own independent mind, he also acts such. Sometimes he'll find things of other interest, sniff around, want attention, or play with something. Like there was a scene where you find a pool of water and he will actually be drawn to play in it. So it essentially is trying to mimic a completely simple entity, which is reminiscent of Team Ico's works. Well, in Ico, you had a girl who spoke a completely different language you had to work with. Shadow Colossus, you walked with a horse. But certainly this is probably the hardest to command, while the horse would always listen to Wanderer, and the girl would simply just hold on to your hands and help tug her up and such and that. The beast can seem like it's going rogues at times, and that could be a deliberate to try and make it feel like its own entity. And on one side, that's an interesting idea, but on another side, some people find that incredibly frustrating. It wasn't too bothersome to me. There was probably one instance where it just kind of annoyed me a lot, but overall, it's if you're patient in puzzles, it's actually really fun playing with your pet, petting him, and taking care of him a bit during your journey. Unlike Ico or Shadow Colossus, this is probably the least violent out of the two. Even Ico, I would claim, had a lot more fighting in it than this. But there is essentially fighting. While the boy never gets to the point where he can really do too much aside from stun them by diving into them, he can help the beast shoot lightning at them at points in the game, and the beast itself will fight these night figures that try to take the boy. I do find interesting that, they try to kidnap you, but they're willing to attack the griffin creature. But the main goal of the game is the kid is trying to get home, and the beast is following him. And you slowly figure out how you even ended up in this situation, and explore the world, obviously. It's very stunning looking graphics. There are some frame rate drops. When people who got the game early through different means and such were complaining, saying the frame rate drops were incredibly so bad that the game was unplayable, I am happy to say that, in my humble opinion, it is not that bad. But there are sadly noticeable frame rate drops at different points in the game that slow it to a crawl with a few occasions, which is a shame because there are really many stunning imagery. Like, if I didn't live stream the game, I would have wanted to take so many screenshots of so many delightful moments throughout the game. There was one near the end I couldn't resist taking during the live stream because it just was a great embodiment towards the end of the game of like how I felt about the game in a way. The game doesn't have a lot of music, but it's very, moody towards how it's going, environmental. But when some things happen, like some of the statues and that, it cues some music, whether it be stealthy kind of, or sometimes a little more action-packed of that. But essentially, you're just going through the wounds, figuring it out. There are a few different unique situations where you get caught up in a few things where you have to either adapt by yourself for a while or figure yourself out of a few unique situations that don't pop up too often in the game. You do also get thrown back, not really backtracking, but you do get to see a few old wounds and quickly get back to your progress at climbing upward. throughout the game, you are going upward, and this becomes relevant if you take a very good look around your surroundings when you're outside. Your surroundings should show you that you're in a giant cradle. So going upwards, obviously, makes sense to try and get out of the hole. After all, you do have a creature that has wings, even if he could only glide at the moment. The story does get very confusing and convoluted. Just like all the Team Ico's works, you'll have to kind of just piece the story together yourself. A lot of the community is still trying to figure out whether the game is related to the Ico world or not. I've been thinking and looking at theories about that, and it's very interesting to crawl around, just like Dark Souls lore and that. But if I wanted to make sure to pass something on in this for sure, is a common mistake I also see a lot of people is there's a lot of times where your beast has to do very dangerous jumps, and sometimes your character will fall off. I've actually had this happen, I believe, 2 times, I think. I know there was at least 1 time it happened to me. And I would definitely recommend trying to stay around the neck and be in a spot where you're holding on to have this not be a very high probability of falling off, because when you're somewhere on its legs, you can have a chance of slipping off. If you're standing directly on his head, not holding to his fore, and he catches you off guard, your character can also fall off. So you have to be aware of what your beast friend is also going to be doing, or you could meet a untimely end. Luckily, though, the game is not very punishing. There are lots of checkpoints, so it's a pretty forgiving game in that sense. And it's pretty easy to escape being captured, since you have no direct way of fighting the knight figures that you meet throughout the game. They try to kidnap you, similar to the shadow creatures with your partner in Ico, except that you get to struggle out. It is very easy to struggle out. It ain't until the end of the game where you get swarmed with a bunch of knights near the end of the game, where it becomes a lot more trickier, because you have to help each other, because the combat gets a little more interesting about midway into the game, because some of the knights will wield glass shields that strike fear into your beast's friend, and into your friend, and into the beast. Ugh, English. But this means you actually need to assist him. Since you can't pick up any weaponry, sadly, you can dash into these knights to make them drop these shields, so your friend can further combat them for you. Though you can help if a knight falls down and he's stunned momentarily, you can grab the helmet and pull it off, which essentially suffocates them, as you can tell how they're whipping around their neck like it's literally suffocating them in a way. So you can assist in the combat, and I do recommend doing it. Some people appear to enjoy just staying on the beast during a lot of the segments unless they need to take out the shield guys, which is something you can do, but I feel like not helping is just being a jackass. I spent about 10, 11 hours beating the game. There were 3 trophies for beating it for 5, 15, and 30 hours. Obviously, I triggered 2 of those trophies. 5 hours. That's going to be a tricky speed one, since you have to deal with an AI creature. So it'll be interesting to see some people get that. It's also interesting to note there were 2 trophies nobody in the entire world, at least on PSN Online, has actually unlocked, which is showing all the hints and obviously the platinum. So, not sure if there's a bug with that, or if nobody's just really found where all the hints are. As far as I could tell, in New Game Plus, you do get access to costumes based on the amount of barrels you feed your creature. and your creature will. There are these collectibles, essentially, barrels you can feed to your creature throughout the game. There are a few segment times where you have to feed him some to progress the game, but I think that only happened about 3 times, I believe. Aside from that, they're pretty much completely optional, but these costumes you get access to are based on the amount you get, or Pacific ones, I'm not quite sure, but they are linked to the barrels. As far as I know, there are no additional endings, and you do not get new dialogue like in Ico. If you never played Ico, when you replay Ico, the other character's language is translated for you, so you can actually understand it in the subtitles. Ico himself doesn't, but you, the player, get to. Most of the dialogue in the game does actually get translated and subtitled for you. So there's not like too much mystery in the dialogue in that regard. Sadly, there aren't too many tools for you to use. The only tool you really get your hands on is a mirror that you can use to command lightning from your beast friend, which the game never really, as far as I know, ever really explains why his tail has lightning powers, but, well, they do, and they shoot wherever you point the shield at, like a mirror shield from The Legend of Zelda or something like that. It can be used to attack knights, destroy rubble around the environment, and progress the game. But you never will get 2x4 sword, a mace, or lightsaber, or anything like that. Ico references. But, it's really what I would describe as an experience. It's not a deep, involved game. It is essentially what I was expecting from the game when it came out. I enjoyed it. I like it. I would probably still say Shadow Colossus is probably still my favorite. But if you liked Ico and Shadow Colossus, I would say definitely get this game. But I would probably wait for it to be around $40. I find it a bit hard to recommend for $60 because they're all, like I said, there are some camera problems and things that just a little iffy. It certainly is an interesting experience, but $60 is a bit tough to say for some of the errors and flaws though in the game. And it really makes me sad to tell you not to really buy this game for as much as you can to support it. Because the reality is that the game will probably never be able to make up the funds used during the 10 hours. People wish you could develop a AAA game that long. The 10 years of development this game had, it will probably never recover or even break even, probably. And that's a shame, because Team Ico disbanded about midway into the development of the game and became a new company. But Sony owns Ico, Shadow Colossus, and The Last Guardian. So hopefully they will continue to do a spiritual sequel in the vein of like Dark Souls, with how Sony owned the rights to Demon Souls. But that is a future that is uncertain. But I'm going to go into the plot at this point. So those are my thoughts, as spoiler-free as I can be while talking about the elements. We will go into the story next, so those who do not want to see, hear, or know the spoilers of the story, I banish you to the hole. For everyone else, let us praise the sun, and oh, is it glorious. There are many moments here with love in this game. Interesting, later in the game, you will run into another beast who will want to kill you and your friend. It seems that the mask your creature was wearing was possibly a mind-controlling device to keep these creatures under bay or under control of the thing that happens to control this whole area. As you explore the wounds, you'll run into more than one. It can be very messy, and of course you will continuously run into more knights and jumping around and more fierce battles, but essentially this all builds up to getting to an interesting tower that stands out from all the other ruins. It is a very white, maybe a slight light blue hueish, perhaps, depending on your thoughts on the color, but this tower stands very apart from all the crumbling ruins that you have been going, climbing, and flying, jumping through. This building signifies the end, and also features two very grand battles with the knight figures in massive swarms of trying to take you away and kill your beast. These are probably, I'd say the whole end of the game part is a very nice challenge of you and your beast friend cooperating together. Once you get to the top, you'll essentially meet what I would probably describe as what controls everything. A strange glowing orb thing that, if you notice when the knights grab you, you get these weird symbols that come around all you. And also to note, if you watch my blind playthrough of the game, I point out these blue doors everywhere, and it wasn't until the end of the game I realized what these blue doors were. They all led into this room with this sphere in it, and the knights would take you to this room and take you inside it. What this means isn't really revealed until you get to all the way to the top of this tower. Upon climbing the top and bypassing the supposed master of all this, it apparently decides that it calls all the other beasts under its control to the tower to stop you two. This leads to a fight which seems very painful for both of you, but overcoming it, stopping the antenna, and putting it all to rest leads to the creatures apparently dying. But the grand reveal here, I would say, is... probably jumped a little too fast there, but when the creatures get called to the tower and they land, they spit the children that they capture into a statue that shoots out a barrel. And it seems that this thing takes possibly the souls of the children and makes these soul knight things. That seems to be what they run on, is possibly the souls. And basically goos up the rest of the corpse and feeds it to the beast. So essentially all the barrels are remnants of past victims. Ugh. But essentially, you defeat this sphere thing that apparently controls everything. It dies, and apparently all the beasts wearing masks die. One of the beasts you met early on, though, you got its mask removed, which apparently set it free, which is apparently the whole reason why your beast never really came out to kill you after that, aside from being forced by this thing that's controlling everything. But all the ones still wearing masks apparently die without its existence as the tower begins to crumble. You're knocked unconscious, and the beast grabs you and takes its final leap in its attempt to escape this cradle with you, and you make it to the edge. It returns you to your village, and you command it away with your final strength, and it flies away injured, possibly capable of dying, and the credits will roll. But after the credits roll, you'll realize why you hear a mature voice that narrates throughout the game, obviously referring to the boy as himself, but as a mature voice. But when you hear the boy obviously talk, it's not the same voice, or no, not the same age. And that is because at this point in time, you will see the boy growing up as a mature adult. And a bunch of children find the weird mirror shield as he picks it up and uses it again, you'll see a glorious scene going through the sky that leads all the way back to the cradle, where you'll see that the beast made it alive and the other one also alive. And you can also hear a small puppy whimper that makes it sound like that there might have been, they may have had a baby. So the race gets to continue on. So Penny Arcade was sadly wrong in, what was it, 2007? I don't remember, but Penny Arcade did a comic saying that, let's face it, either the boy's gonna die or the beast is going to die. It's not gonna be pretty. So, nobody died, so it looks like Team Ico got the last laugh. There's a lot of interesting speculation that I'm sure the years to come will be interesting, and I'll be sure to want to keep an eye on the Cradle's interviews if he lets any ideas slip connecting to the Ico world, but so far there hasn't been any real connections to the other two games to signify the two games and this being in the same world. But still, I would say, if the game, you see it for 40 or even less, I would pick it up if you're Ico, Shadow Colossus, or Puzzle Adventure fan that has some patience. That you don't want like a super rushy kind of thing. You want, what do I need to do to figure this out? How do I figure this out? It's a little clumsy in some ways. You can argue whether the beast's AI is annoying or makes it feel like it's a real creature with its own mind. That's something that's subjectively going to vary from person to person. It's probably going to be one of the things that is going to be very questionable for a lot of people. But overall, I really enjoyed The Last Guardian. I do recommend it for the fans of these games. But if you're not patient for puzzle games and such, I don't think The Last Guardian will be for you. And those are my thoughts on the overall experience. If you learned anything interesting in this, please leave a like. If you didn't, feel free to leave a dislike. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. If you have any comments, questions, or anything, please leave a comment down below. Thank you for watching, and do too share me what you think about The Last Guardian. Until next time, thank you for watching.
どうだった？私の作